Welcome back to Easy Anatomy, and I'm going again to continue the descending tracts or motor system. So when we talk about motor system or descending tract, there is always two classification for the descending tracts. The first classification, okay, which is called the pyramidal and the extrapyramidal The pyramidal, this include, okay, the lateral or the corticospinal tracts, corticospinal tract, whether lateral or medial, or the anterior corticospinal tract. Okay, the one descending the lateral column of spinal cord and the one descending in the anterior column of spinal cord. The crossed one, this is the crossed, and this is the one which descends in the same side. And also the pyramidal system include corticobulbar tract, the one which control cranial nerve nuclei. The extrapyramidal, and we talked about that the pyramidal system, if there is injury here, lead to what? Paralysis. The extrapyramidal tract include other tracts which coming from the brainstem. This is coming from brainstem, to spinal cord. But the pyramidal from cerebral cortex to spinal cord, correct? Which nuclei in the brainstem give origin to extrapyramidal? We talked about it. Tectospinal from the superior colliculus, rubrospinal from red nucleus, and this both of them from midbrain. Then you have vestibulospinal from vestibular nuclei and reticulospinal. And we talked about that this system related to the automatic movement and the movement related to balance, position, and also involuntary. So this is involuntary movement, and we talked about that injury of this system leads to paralysis or abnormal movement. Okay, basically the other classification is more or less is when it comes to the function is not different. However, it depends mostly on the location of the tract in the spinal cord, whether it is in the anterior column or in lateral column. That's why we have again the lateral tract and the medial or anterior tract. The lateral tract including the corticospinal, which one? Lateral corticospinal, okay, and also rubrospinal, because rubrospinal descends in the lateral column, rubrospinal. In addition to that, is considered as one of the lateral is the corticobulbar. Also, it does not descend in the spinal cord. So lateral corticospinal and rubrospinal and corticobulbar. The medial one is going to include the anterior corticospinal and the rest other, all these tracts which are extrapyramidal except rubrospinal. So you will find that rubrospinal is not part of the medial. So vestibulospinal, tectospinal, okay, and reticulospinal. All these are medial tract. So this is how to classify them. We're done with that. Let us go to the beginning of pyramidal tract and motor system again in more detail. So the beginning of motor system or pyramidal tract and the corticobulbar tracts coming from, or what we call it, the pyramidal tracts in general, because we talked that the pyramidal tracts are coming from cerebral cortex, but extrapyramidal coming from brainstem. So they are coming from the precentral gyrus, okay, the motor area, and the premotor cortex, and supplementary motor area, so area 4 and area 6. In addition to that, the association area in the parietal lobe play a role also. The orientation and organization of the body, as you know, is upside down. If this is the lateral surface of the cerebral cortex, and this is the lateral sulcus, and this is the insula, and this is part of the temporal lobe, and you will see that the body is organized upside down. As you see, the head, tongue is the lowest here, head, hand, and then the leg on the medial surface of the cerebral cortex. Usually it is related more, if you see the hand even bigger than the leg, because hand need more scales and more fine movement. And this is how the body is represented in the brain. The hand representing large portion of the motor and sensory area, because again, due to this complicated movement and the scales with hand movement. So this is the presentation of the body in the cerebral cortex, in the motor, and also in sensory area. Then coming to the corticospinal tract, if we go follow from the beginning to the end, as I mentioned, coming from the premotor, the motor and the premotor area in the precentral gyrus and the anterior, as I mentioned early. So area 4 and the area 6, which is supplementary area. And then they descend, the fiber descend from the cerebral cortex, as you see, from this area, going through the internal capsule between thalamus and the lentiform nucleus, then descend again through the internal capsule here, then descend through midbrain and bones, and in medulla cross to the opposite side, crossing to the opposite side. Okay, when it crosses to the opposite side, this is the lateral corticospinal tract, as I mentioned, and this is descend in the lateral column, and as you see, is going mostly to the distal muscle. However, the 20% of the fiber descend in the same side, they don't cross, and then they recross in the spinal cord. And reaching to the proximal muscles. So at the end of the day, you will see this is the right side of the brain, or right cerebral hemisphere, controlling left side of the body, okay, and vice versa. The left here is going to control right here. And all what I need from you to remember that the 20% which descend same side or ipsilateral through the brainstem, about 15% at least are going to recross again in the spinal cord this time, and they go to the opposite side. Okay, only little number of fibers can continue to the same side. Okay, so if you look here, this is again how fibers converging. That's why we call it pyramidal. Is not because of the origin in the pyramidal cells here, but because the shape become like a pyramid, inverted pyramid, with the apex down and the base up. So this is, they converge through the internal capsule and go making what we call it corona radiata, okay, in the cerebral hemisphere, the white matter, and they descend through the same side. In the medulla, they cross to the opposite side. They form what we call it pyramid here, okay, in the medulla. Then they cross and they have what we call it decussation, pyramidal decussation, then going to the opposite side of the body. So this is the corticospinal tract. Okay. However, when we talk about, we need to talk about the corticobulbar tract, and here I need from you guys to pay attention to important facts about corticobulbar tract. The corticobulbar tract, this is what regulate muscles of the eye, muscles of the head, facial muscle, laryngeal muscle, pharyngeal muscle. So this is related to the muscles of the head. Corticobulbar tract, muscle of head. This is include facial muscle, okay, eye muscles, pharyngeal, laryngeal muscles. That's why if you track this tract from the beginning to the end, it follows the same path through the midbrain, through the internal capsule first, midbrain, then started to stop in different part of the brain stem in the motor nuclei. Okay, as you see, you will notice something interesting, that this tract send fibers to the both sides. You see, like this is the nucleus of trigeminal nerve, motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and above here you need to remember that we have 3 and 4 in midbrain, correct? So you will notice that it send the thick fiber is going to the opposite side, the thin fiber to the same side. Okay, it means that there is bilateral control of the cranial nerve nuclei, receiving from right and the left cerebral hemisphere. When it comes to facial nerve nucleus, like here, you will notice that facial nerve nucleus is splitted or divided into upper and lower part. Upper and lower part. What do you think here? You will see that the upper part receiving thick band from the opposite side and thin band going to the upper here, but you notice something, that the lower part here does not receive any of this. You see what I'm saying? It means does not receive from the same side. What does this mean? It means that, as you see, that the upper part of the nucleus, which again is going to supply upper face, muscles of the upper face, and the lower part supplying muscles of the lower face. Okay, muscles of the lower face. Like when I say lower face, like what? Like triangularis and depressor anguli oris, depressor lipii. Upper face like orbicularis oculi, like levator lipii, etc. So the upper face is going to receive control from both sides, okay? However, the lower one receive only from the opposite side. What does this mean? You need to translate this to clinical significance. It means that if there is paralysis here, okay, in one side, only lower face is going to be affected, because the upper face receive from right cerebral hemisphere and left hemisphere. So there is corticobulbar fiber coming from the left and right, okay, to the upper part of the nucleus which supply upper face. And the lower face receive only, the lower half of the nucleus which you control lower face receive only from the opposite side. That's why if a patient comes to you with lower face paralysis, it means that this is most probably is central due to stroke, due to injury in the brain, not in the peripheral nerve, unless there is only one branch of the nerve is affected. So basically keep this in mind, that patient come with problem in the lower face. So lower face paralysis here mean that there is injury or stroke in opposite cerebral hemisphere. Okay. Similar here, you will find that all cranial nerves again receive from both sides, right and left, except the lower part of the facial nucleus and also hypoglossal nerve. Did you notice something here? Hypoglossal nerve receive only from the opposite side. Okay, receive from the opposite side. You see here that it escaped. The corticobulbar fiber escaped the same side, does not send. What does this mean again? It means that if there is injury in the brain, usually there is weakness in the muscles of the head. Weakness. I'm not saying total paralysis because there is bilateral representation, except there will be total paralysis in the contralateral side of the lower face and contralateral paralysis in the tongue. If this is the right side, so left side of the tongue will be affected, and or left group of muscles. So that's why upper motor lesion from here to here, we call it upper motor neuron lesion. But lesion in the nucleus or in the nerve itself, we call it, again, here is the nerve and the nucleus. This is what we call it lower motor neuron injury, if there is injury. Okay? And here is hypoglossal nerve. What is the difference between lower motor neuron injury in hypoglossal nerve versus upper motor neuron? Lower motor neuron injury, it means injury in the hypoglossal nerve or nucleus itself, leads to deviation of the tongue to the same side of the injury, because hypoglossal nerve, this is hypoglossal nerve, supply genioglossus muscle. Okay, genioglossus muscle protrude the tongue, protrude, this is the function of it, protrude the tongue to opposite side, correct? So if the genioglossus protrudes the tongue to the opposite side, this is left one, this is left genioglossus, so the tongue going to where? Right side. This is normal, right side. So if the left genioglossus work, so the tongue will point to the right side, correct? So if there is injury in this nerve or in the nucleus itself, it means that left genioglossus what? Paralyzed. It means that the tongue will go to the same side, not right side, will be pushed by the left muscle to the same side. So it's gonna be ipsilateral deviation of tongue. It means tongue point to the side of the injury. If the tongue point to the left side, it means that left hypoglossal is affected. However, if the lesion in the upper motor neuron here, so if there is lesion here, it means which hypoglossal nerve is affected and which side of the tongue. This is right, so it means left side, correct? It means left side of the tongue. Okay, so you need to pay attention to this fact. If there is here injury, right side injury here, so the tongue here paralyzed and is going to point again to the side of which, to the side of the injury. You see what I'm saying? In the lower motor neuron paralysis, in the lower motor neuron paralysis, here is injury of the hypoglossal nerve, genioglossus paralyzed, so the right one work pushing the tongue to the left, which is the same side. If there is injury here, okay, at the higher level, in the right side here, it means that the left side of the tongue is affected, or the hair is affected, and this is the one which working, pushing to the left side. So contralateral deviation of the tongue. Right paralysis here, or right injury here, right injury in cerebral cortex, the tongue will go to the left. Okay, the tongue will go to the left. And again, hypoglossal nerve here injury is going to be in the left side. Okay. So I hope that this is clear. If it's upper motor neuron paralysis, so the tongue will go to the opposite side of the injury. Injury here, the tongue will go here. If the injury here, the tongue will go here. Again, this side, same side of hypoglossal nerve injury. This side, opposite side of brain injury, of brain injury. Okay, so deviation of the tongue to this side, it means same side of hypoglossal nerve injury. This side, opposite side of the upper motor neuron injury. I hope that this is clear. So the last thing I need to discuss with you quickly is the medial system or anterior system. This is vestibulospinal tract, coming from the vestibular nuclei in pons and the medulla, and then it is not crossed. Usually it descends in the same side, okay, and go as you see in the anterior column. The function of that is controlling the movement of the axial muscles and also muscles related to the position, anti-gravity, like for the arm or for the upper extremity, the flexors, for the leg, extensor. So this for the position, okay, and axial muscles. Then when it comes to tectospinal tract, tectospinal coming from the tectum, from the superior colliculus. Remember, the superior colliculus has two colliculi, okay, on each side. If you remember this X shape, if you divide it into two letters, this is V, vision, so the superior colliculus for vision, and the inferior colliculus A for auditory or hearing. So the superior colliculus send fibers to the spinal cord. Why? Especially to the neck area and the cervical area. This is to coordinate the movement of the head to visual stimuli. To visual stimuli. Like if you stimulate the eye with light from one side, you tilt the head and you turn the head and the eye move to this stimulus. So basically coordinating this one, coordinate movement of eye with the position, okay, and also the neck. So basically this is part of the medial system. Last thing which I like to point is the function of cerebellum in motor function. Okay, it's very important to pay attention that cerebellum play a role in motor activity. Here is the corticospinal tract sending information to the muscle, and this is the intended movement, okay. Meanwhile, through pons, cerebellum sends through the corticopontocerebellar tract information to the cerebellum about the intended movement, the extent of this movement, and where I'm going. Meanwhile, the cerebellum receive deep sensation and proprioception from the joints and from the extremity. So start to comparing the intended movement with the current position, and then send back information through the thalamus to cerebral hemisphere to modify the movement and make balance. So basically it is comparator, like the cerebellum compare the intended movement, okay, with the position of the body and how to reach to a balanced position. So again, here is the efferent fiber from cerebellum going to the thalamus and from the thalamus to cerebral hemisphere to correct. This is correction order, okay, correction order. I hope that this is clear and give you an idea about the descending tracts in general and the function. All what I need from you to remember now at the end of the day, that paralysis of pyramidal tract is leading to, injury of pyramidal tract leading to paralysis of the opposite side of the body, injury of the extrapyramidal system and medial system usually lead to abnormal movement, injury of facial nerve and hypoglossal nerve is little different from other cranial nerve. The reason for that, again, as I explained in different place, that the lower part of the facial nerve nucleus, lower part of this is the facial nucleus, right and left, and as I mentioned, the upper one control upper face and the lower one control lower face, okay. So this one here is cerebral cortex on each side. So you will notice that the upper face receive from both sides, but the lower face receive only from the opposite side. So basically If this side injured, is still sending again, this one sending here, but not again, as you mentioned, the lower one is receiving only from the opposite side. If there is injury here, this upper face will be intact because it's still receiving from the same side, but the lower face is the one which is going to be paralyzed. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, if this is right side, so left lower face is going to be affected. Hypoglossal nerve, again, if this is cranial nerve number 12, quickly, just a quick review, again receiving only from the opposite side, And as I mentioned, here is the hypoglossal nerve going to the tongue muscle, and paralysis of hypoglossal nerve leading to deviation of the tongue to the same side of hypoglossal nerve injury. Why? Because if this is the left side, the right genioglossus is the one which is working, so pushing the tongue to the left side. So tongue point to the same side of lower motor neuron injury. However, if this tongue is deviated to the left side and the hypoglossal nerve is intact, it means that the right cerebral cortex has a problem. This is upper motor. How can you differentiate between upper and lower motor neuron paralysis? And this is another thing, like upper, here is the motor cortex, and this is the upper motor neuron, and this is lower motor neuron. What is the difference? This is very common table, upper motor neuron injury versus or lesion, lower motor neuron lesion. The most important thing that in upper motor neuron there is hypertonia, hyperreflexia, and the positive Babinski reflex, in which the big toe, there is extension of big toe on scratching, when you scratch the sole of the foot. Okay, lower motor neuron will be hypotonia and hyporeflexia. Okay, there will be rigidity in our motor neuron. Okay, but there will be flaccidity. This is gonna be flaccid paralysis, like in that this is a spastic paralysis in upper motor neuron. So the upper motor neuron, like in pyramidal tract or corticobulbar tract, so this lead to spastic paralysis. This is a spastic paralysis, and this is called the flaccid paralysis if it's a peripheral nerve, if the peripheral nerve is the one which is affected. Okay, I hope that this helping you, and feel free to send me any question, and feel free to subscribe. Thank you.